Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Consummate Athlete Podcast. I'm Molly Herford, author of 4 books on cycling, most recently Saddle Sore, Ride Comfortable, Ride Happy, and also a writer about pretty much all things fitness, as well as a doer of pretty much all things fitness. And with me is my co-host and also husband, Peter Glassford.
Welcome to the Consummate Athlete. And indeed, I am Molly's husband, and I am also a coach with Smart Athlete, a professional mountain bike racer, and a registered kinesiologist here in Ontario. So really what we're doing here with the Consummate Athlete podcast is very in that kinesiology realm, where we're looking at all sorts of different movements and sort of how we can get better, at whether that's playing a pickup game of hockey or some soccer, kicking the soccer ball around, or doing something like parkour that might help us move a little better through the environment. So it's been really exciting so far. Lots and lots of guests over the last year. And today we have a really great guest in Lauren Sesselmann, a professional soccer player.
Yes, she sort of combines the best of both of our worlds, since she's American-born but plays for an international Canadian team. And since Peter's Canadian and I'm American, it was sort of a good mix. We had a lot of places in common with her as far as, where we've been. Lauren is super cool because she's not just a pro soccer player, though. She's also a fitness entrepreneur. She has these great core work and 10-minute, quick workout wherever you are DVDs. They're called Fit as a Pro. And I admit I've actually been cheating on Peter's 10-minute core routine that he made for me and doing some of hers just to mix things up.
For sure. And definitely we're going to link to those in the show notes so that all of my clients can get lots of ideas. There's some cool routines there. Definitely, drawing from Lauren's soccer experience. There's a lot of agility stuff. And just sort of her claim to fame, if you check out her Instagram, which again we link to in the show notes over at consummateathlete.com. Her claim to fame, and what you'll see in a lot of her Instagrams, is that she does a lot of fitness and core routines and stuff in her many traveling roles. As Molly said, she's played on a couple different teams, sort of the national Canadian team, but then also a couple professional teams in the States. And so she's always living out of a suitcase. So really cool, even if you're not going to invest in those 10-minute core routines, the fitness DVDs that you can download. Her YouTube and also her Instagram are great resources just to get some ideas on, how you might do a workout while you're watching the kids at home, or maybe you're traveling for business or something, and you're stuck in a hotel room. What can you do, to sort of keep getting stronger, keep moving in different ways through the different range of motions. So very excited to show you guys this podcast today. Molly, what was your favorite sort of takeaway or main thing we talked about today other than the core videos?
Yeah, we didn't just talk about core videos. That was probably the first 20 minutes, but we really get into some tips on kind of getting into soccer. And as someone who really loved soccer as a kid, but hasn't played it as an adult, I was really curious to kind of figure out how one can get back into soccer at an advanced age and, how to do some practicing. I really like the idea she had about just, kicking a ball around, kicking it at a wall to practice some agility stuff. Actually, what I really loved is I was always terrible at offense in soccer. So being able to set up pylons in a goal and then aiming for between the pylons instead of just in the goal to get better at actually scoring, I sort of loved. What about you?
Yeah, I did like the kicking the ball against the wall thing. At the gym, we often use, volleyball or different ball sports sort of as a group. And so I think that's something, I like that idea of the agility, the foot sort of foot to eye coordination, if you will, foot to ball coordination. Because a lot of us miss that. We didn't play a lot of soccer as youths, or we went right into endurance sports and are absolutely useless in terms of hand-eye coordination. So I think the wall drill is something that I'll definitely sort of incorporate as warm-ups and sort of within strength routines, or on, even an off day or something, maybe even around bike practice. But the other thing I really liked was that, if you're going to go do a pickup soccer league or something, which is on Molly and my to-do list, is to get into some co-ed stuff as we get settled somewhere someday. But the importance of shoes, if you're going to go and do something, whether that's weightlifting or parkour or cycling, there's usually a shoe. And as much as I hate having lots of shoes, does make a difference.
Having lots of shoes. Massive
so that
shoe
I think was, for me, was just, if you're going to go play soccer and try and do your best or improve, having, borrowing, getting a used set of shoes is a pretty important thing so that you can feel that ball and handle the ball well and get grip on whatever turf or surface you're playing on. So that was for me. Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we don't want to give too much away, like her tips for how not to kick a ball. So let's get into it, shall we? Enjoy our chat with Lauren Sesselmann. Thanks for listening to the Consummate Athlete Podcast. If you're listening to this, we're assuming you're already well on your way to being the consummate athlete that you hope to become. And if you're already one of the healthy people, did you know that you can get a special rate due to an active and health-conscious lifestyle on your life insurance?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense for a life insurance company to go and, give great rates to healthy people, active people, just like yourself, cyclists, runners, CrossFitters, whatever you're into. They're offering great rates for healthy people because for them, it's a win. We're seeing way lower risk of things like heart disease, lower risks of early death. So why not give those people a lower rate on their life insurance?
Absolutely. If you want to check this out and test your health IQ over at Health IQ, visit healthiq.com/consummate athlete. Again, that's healthiq.com/consummate athlete. We'll have a link in the show notes as well if you don't have a place to write it down. Definitely worth checking out. It's a huge savings and just such an awesome thing to do, seeing a company is supporting, really active people like yourself.
And they're supporting this podcast. I mean, if you're just even like, I don't know about this, I don't even know what life insurance is, why don't you go over? They have some pretty cool quizzes, actually. They have some cycling quizzes. They have a weightlifting quiz that I took. I got a question wrong, and I had to retake it because I couldn't possibly have not gotten 100%, so I had to retake it. So, I mean, it's a pretty neat website, actually. So if you just go check it out, that'd be awesome. Again, healthiq.com/consummate athlete. Go check that out. We'd appreciate it, and I think in the end, it might just save you some money.
Absolutely. Thanks for listening, and enjoy the rest of the show.
Welcome back to the Consummate Athlete Podcast. Today, we're really excited to be with Lauren Sesselmann, who is a professional soccer player, but she's also branched out. She's been in some movies, some scary movies even, and then she also has her own line and slowly growing line of fitness videos that you can download. So we'll give you the links and talk about that a bit more here in a minute. But we're really excited to sort of talk about all these different elements that she's put into sort of her consummate athlete lifestyle. So Lauren, welcome to the Consummate Athlete.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, and you're down in Miami right now, but you grew up in Green Bay.
Yes, I grew up in the frozen tundra, and then I played for the Canadian national team, as a lot of people know, through my father, who was born in Newfoundland.
Okay. Now, where is the team based out of? Like when you were playing for them, where would you guys practice? And
we would be mostly in Vancouver, and then occasionally in Toronto.
Okay. Because I know our Toronto soccer club, the Toronto FC, is pretty big for the guys. So would you guys play at a sort of similar spot?
Yeah, we would play exactly where they play, actually. We've had a couple games there, and they had quite a season. So that's pretty phenomenal to see that. And but yeah, most of the time we're in Vancouver. So.
Okay. All right. Well, why don't you take us back and just give us sort of a bio of sorts, sort of how you got into soccer and sort of move up through that, almost.
Yeah, of course. I actually was a huge basketball player growing up, and that was kind of my sport. And one day my mom signed me up for soccer, and I think it was 10 or 11 years old. And she's like, "You're going to go out there. You're going to play this." And I'm like, "No, I don't want to." It was co-ed at the time. So I sat on the bench for, most of the practice. And then finally the coach was like, "Let's try this." So I'm like, okay, I get up, I score a goal, and I throw a boy on the ground. My mom picks me up, and I'm like, "Mom, this is my sport." And ever since then, it's kind of been my sport, and it's just kind of just taken off for me. And, growing up, I was always, trying to play on the best team in the state. So I would always drive 2 hours to and from practice. So I was a very committed athlete. It was something I wanted to do. I dreamed of becoming a professional soccer player after watching Mayhem, watching the U.S., Canada, just crush it. And so my eyes were just set forward, and it's like, this is what you want. This is what you're going to do, and nothing's going to get in my way. And, went to Purdue University, And then once I graduated, played in the pros and played for the last, what has it been, like 9 years? Oh, that makes me sound really old. But yeah, I've been playing for the last like 9 years, and it's been quite a ride. Played for the Canadian national team for the past 6 years. Played in, the Pan American Games where we have a gold medal, the Olympics where we have a bronze medal, and also the World Cup. So, I've been very fortunate to have done it all. And also, I started a fitness company, and I also have a soccer camp that I do worldwide to kind of help grow the athlete both on and off the field, and a bunch of other things. So it's been quite a wild ride so far, and I'm really excited to see what this year brings.
Okay, yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I think there's a lot of stuff there I want to talk about.
Okay.
Why don't we start with the DVDs and sort of this fitness idea? I know you're sort of well known. We'll link to your Instagram and your Twitter and stuff because people can see some sort of in the field workouts you've done while you've been traveling and stuff. And certainly when you look through your bio and all the teams you play on, and I assume the professional teams you're playing on sort of at the same time, and it's overlapping with all the Olympic like national team stuff, right? So you're on the road all the time.
Yeah.
So that was a lot of the inspiration then for the Fit as a Pro DVD series?
Yeah, so Fit as a Pro are all 10-minute high-intensity workouts that you can do wherever you are, no equipment. But basically, they're for any type of fitness level. It's basically you can do what you can do in that amount of time. And so the inspiration behind it was, fitness has always been my lifestyle. I'm always on the road. I'm always traveling. I always have my parents that are telling me, oh, I don't have enough time to work out, or just business people or whoever. I mean, that's the day and age that we live in. Nobody has time for anything anymore. And they're trying to find the quickest routes to do stuff to get, the desired effects. And for me, it was just kind of like finding things in my hotel room to work out with. If I wasn't being able to use weights, I would use some towels for some resistance. And you'd be surprised. I know it sounds kind of crazy, but you'd be surprised at how much they actually work your body out. Or a pillow or a chair or whatever's in there, because sometimes you're on the road, the gym isn't very nice, so there isn't one at all, or using your outside surroundings. So that's kind of where it all stemmed from, and it's just kind of blossomed over the last 2 years, and I'm really proud of it. And now it's just kind of like the fitness industry is kind of taking off. You see a lot on Instagram and stuff. So we have a great following. My favorite thing is getting messages from people to say, how I've jump started their workouts and their exercise routine. They're happy, they're healthy, they're feeling the body change. So for me, that's what's really inspiring. And we're taking these workouts on the road and going to start doing some more boot camps around the world. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I mentioned it when we were sort of talking ahead of this. I've had really good luck. I coach cyclists mostly, but endurance athletes, and similar thing. They love their sport, so maybe they're a little better off than the general population as far as fitness and getting out and doing stuff and moving. But getting them to do any sort of strength training or anything that's not their main sport is tough a lot of times. And for some reason, I'd always be like, okay, 45-minute strength routine twice a week, right out of the textbook. And then for some reason, I was like 10 minutes in the morning every day. Let's just do it every day, and some people do it right before their workout or before bed or wherever it fits. But that 10 minutes, for some reason, I have had the best adherence.
Yeah.
I think I've had with probably anything. So when I saw your stuff, I was really excited. So we'll definitely link to that, and I'll start getting that to people. Now you have a new one you're working on now. What's going to be the difference in this third episode or edition?
You'll see a lot of different exercises that I haven't done in the previous DVDs. A lot of I had one DVD that was more high intensity, and then another one was for smaller spaces. So that was more, a little bit more lower impact, and actually one of the most popular ones compared to the higher intensity. But this one is going to be a kind of a mixture of the cardio, the strength, the plyo work, core work, and then there's a day that's just more for stretching and a little bit of yoga and a little bit of foam rolling, because a lot of people forget to do the stretching part, which I think is so important, especially us as endurance athletes that you have. And so It's just going to be a week program that we're going to have just to kind of jumpstart people if, they're looking to start out, or those higher intensity athletes. So it's just really like pushing yourself to the limit that you can do. So, it is for every fitness level. You'll see towels. We have 2 towel workouts in there, 1 towel strength workout and 1 towel cardio workout. I promise you they will kick your butt. And they're fun, and they're only 10 minutes long. So you can do it before your day starts, or at the end, whatever you feel comfortable with. And I think it's just a great little workout to get in for the day.
Yeah, the interface is pretty good. You can sort of customize too. If you have 20 minutes, or you want to warm up with one of the easier ones and then go into, one of the more high intensity ones, it's pretty slick to sort of go between them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and definitely the high intensity one, it gets moving. Like there's like some burpee, like sort of standing up, jumping, and then down, like push up, and yeah, like you're moving all around. It's pretty sweet. What was I going to say? The soccer, like how much has soccer training influenced, the exercise and stuff? Like, are you integrating some of the agility and sort of jumping and stuff that I would expect you guys are doing on the field and in your condition?
Yeah, I mean, we do a lot of stuff that's similar to football. So you do a lot of the fast footwork, you do a lot of the agility, the strength training, the balance training, all that kind of stuff. So I try to incorporate all those things. People always ask me how I'm training, how I stay fit. Even I went through injuries. A lot of people that have gone through injuries or have bad knees or something like that, like I can help them. And so I try to cater a lot towards people like that as well. So there's just, for me, like I do a lot of the skater jumps. We're doing a lot of just fast footwork stuff. That kind of stuff I incorporate in my soccer, on a daily. Obviously, when I'm in season and stuff like that, we do a little bit more stuff with weights. So it's a little bit different. But when I'm out of season and I'm on the road and I need to get that quick, that quick workout in, we do that. And I incorporate that in when I'm doing ball work and stuff like that. So maybe we'll take the soccer ball and we're doing, some shooting, and all of a sudden then you're like 10 burpees with the ball, or here you go. So I also have some stuff on YouTube that incorporates the soccer ball just to kind of change it up, some core workouts and stuff like that if people want to try something different. But you'd be surprised at how much this stuff is used, in sports. So it's kind of cool that people can be like, oh, I'm kind of working out, like athletes are. So people really seem to enjoy it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Can you describe, let's just use the 2 examples you gave, like just so people sort of get an idea, and we can certainly link to this in the show notes too, but just sometimes you have to have the audio. Like for something like a skater jump, what is someone doing there? Like what's the motion like?
So you're kind of going from side to side into like a mini squat. Okay. So you're jumping, but you can also do like I did it so people can do a modification as just stepping and doing it too. Okay. Just making sure your knee is nice and aligned, your core is nice and tight. So you're just getting a nice little side to side cardio work. But yeah, right. It's one of my favorites. But as a lot of people know that I went through an ACL, so there's just some stuff that I can't go as low as some people can now. And so I think that's great that I can relate to a lot of people that have had maybe an injury like that as well.
Was it your left one?
It was my right one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. It's often, yeah, that's funny. So let's talk about the ACL, because I'm sort of intrigued by that, and I actually have a couple clients who are battling that right now, thanks to ice and so forth here in Canada.
Yeah.
So what did you find really helped with the ACL? You're probably had to deal with it in season or trying to get back and ready for a season. So, how did you overcome that ACL?
It's not easy at all for me. It happened when I was 31. So, not to age myself, but it's a little bit harder when you're a little bit older. I've had people that I've talked to who did it when they were younger and they bounced back right away. My process was, a little bit longer, and everyone's body is different. And I think people forget that. Some people come back quicker. Some people, it takes a little bit longer to their body get used to it. It depends how much muscle mass you lost beforehand, before the surgery. It's a mental, it's all mental. It's 100% mental. It's just how far you think you can push yourself and trust yourself. And, for me, it took me a full year, plus a little bit after that to actually feel 100%. They say, it takes 2 years for you to feel back to your old self. I was pushing to get back for the World Cup, and I felt great going into the World Cup. I felt really well prepared. I think, as I said, the battle is the mental, and I struggled. It took me a long time, like I was kind of getting some feedback. The problem was I was in two different teams at the same time, so everyone's feedback is different. So there was one team that was rushing me, and then there was another team that was like, okay, take your time going through. So there was times where I thought I was fine, and then I was actually running incorrectly, so I had to relearn it again. So I had to stop and then relearn. So the process is a very frustrating one, but if you have an end goal, for me was the World Cup. So every day, I'd have a little mantra, kind of like up on my wall and be like, okay, this is what I'm fighting for. I wake up, World Cup, I got to go help my team. This is what I want to do. So I find that if you have that kind of instilled into your mind, you have, your why and your purpose. You're waking up every day to get better towards that. And, I've become a lot stronger over the years. I've learned different things from different trainers that I still use every day, in my training that helps build up that muscle because, you have as you age, you get the factors like arthritis and things like that. And unfortunately, I have a little bit of that. So I have to just keep things at bay. And, it hasn't hindered me in any way. I'm still going, full steam ahead every day. So, the ACL isn't easy, but if you have a good amount of people supporting you and you kind of just have that drive, you're going to do really well.
Sure. Now, you mentioned sort of some of the trainers have showed you some stuff. Was there any like in particular exercises that you found have been helpful and even just like helping maintain that sort of stiffness? Like a lot of people talk maybe about the hamstring strength and stuff like that. Quadricep flexibility, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, like the VMO is like the biggest thing because if that's not working, like your knee is going to be, not stable. So we would do a lot with bands, with resistant bands. We would probably do about the first like 30, 40 minutes of just band work and just strengthening, the glutes, the hamstrings, and even putting like a resistant band around like a pole and then just doing like VMO pumps and using a stability ball to do, quad VMO pumps on there as well. So that was kind of in like leg press and stuff like that. And a lot of balance work, was the big thing too. So I still do those things every day because I feel like they help. So.
Right. And like you're saying, even back to the skater, you wouldn't be jumping initially after that injury, but you might be stepping sort of side to side over like a line or over a mini hurdle or something like that. Right. And then sort of working on that one leg stance and then gradually sort of stepping further or, little tiny hops.
Exactly.
Would you be doing something like a hamstring curl on a ball or with the band?
Yeah, I did a lot of that stuff too. I did that. It's different. I would do that manually with my trainer first, and then once I could do it myself, he would hold it, and then we would do like the hamstrings where you fall and
okay, like a Nordic hamstring.
Yeah, like nice. The Nordic hamstrings. Those are my my least favorite things, but they work great. But we would do a lot of manual stuff, so they would be like pushing on me, and I think that's great having somebody that can work with you like that because sometimes it's hard because a lot of people, your insurance only covers so many things. So what can these people do after that, when they can't get working with the trainer insurance? So that's something that I'm actually working on right now that I think is going to be something very beneficial for people who have been going through, because ACLs are becoming so prevalent everywhere you turn, everyone's doing their ACLs and it's crazy. So we're working on a little something for that for Fit as a Pro, which I'm really excited about this year.
Thanks. That's exciting. Yeah, definitely let me know when that comes out.
Okay.
Okay. So that's a little bit of training stuff there. Why don't we even shift gears a little bit and let's just tell us a little bit about like what's professional soccer like, especially for females right now. It's unfortunate we don't see nearly as much on TV and that sort of stuff. So what's going on in professional soccer right now? I guess in North America, since we're calling it soccer.
Yeah, I mean, it's an exciting time. I think the World Cup and the Olympics have really pushed female soccer to the forefront, having the U.S. girls winning, gold medal, and then even Canada. We've had 2 bronze in the last couple of years and other things. So I think it's exciting to see the following that we're getting. People are recognizing, wow, females, they can really play. And I've had many people say, oh, you guys are so much fun to watch. You just get down and dirty. And You're really physical, and you guys, so I think that's just kind of a testament to, the sport is growing. There's still a long way to go. In the pro league, the NWSL that we have, the attendance records are getting a lot better. There is a lot more we can do, like partnering with the MLS. I think those teams have had, significant success. You see Portland getting the same amount of fans as the men. So there is still ways to go, but the thing is, which is great, is that we haven't folded, So the last couple attempts for the league have folded, and right now we're adding teams instead of, taking away. And this was the last time they were saying that they were going to, try the women's professional league. So we have to make it survive. So I think everyone's trying to do anything in their power to try to keep that alive. And, it has to do with all the people coming to watch our games too. But I think what hurts us is, we don't have the TV deals and stuff like that for people to be able to watch on TV as well, which I think would help kind of grow the game. And a lot of people don't even know about us or know that we're in those cities. And, it's just continuing to get it out there. But I think it's great that you have a lot of people that are like, oh, I got your jersey over the guys' jersey or something. Not to knock the guys or anything, because they're great. But I think this just kind of shows you how it's grown. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of sports are starting to see, like, certainly in mountain biking, we don't have a lot of television coverage for the guys or the girls, but there's definitely still a bit of that inequality. But the women's racing is actually really exciting right now. The last couple of years have been really good. So you're starting to see that same sort of trend where the fans are getting almost more into that, and the television and sort of online coverage is almost as good. So hopefully good things to come for all women's sport. But can you speak to, so just to confirm, the MLS, so they're trying to like sort of have a men's and women's team under the same like name sort of thing? So like the same Toronto FC might have like a women's team someday.
Yeah. So like Houston has one, and we have Portland and Kansas City. I think there was one more. I can't remember. So that's going to help us. And I think that's going to help us generate, more income for the ladies as well. Cause I feel like, the league is getting there and they're doing their best, but there is still so much to do for the females, like the housing and, our contracts and stuff like that. Like it still needs to be better on that end, but it's a slow process. So we're trying to help the future generations right now.
Right. I guess that would help maybe minimize some costs and stuff, right? Like use same stadium, even like logoing and stuff, right? If it was the same or similar.
Yeah.
Huh, okay. That's interesting. Let's go now with your soccer camps. So you mentioned sort of working internally and externally. What's the rough idea with that? I'm curious to know sort of how you're bringing that sort of camp atmosphere. Is that for kids, or who are you looking at with that?
Yeah, usually we do about ages like 7 to 18. We're kind of playing with some new ideas. Last year, my soccer camps were called Success Through Soccer, and now we're kind of rebranding them. We've had some huge camps up in Canada, a few in the U.S., but we want to do like a whole tour, and we want to do it in conjunction with boot camps for adults as well. So that's kind of, our mindset going forward this year. But, what's great is we're trying to change the mindset a little bit. We want to change it to like almost like a level up with the pros and kind of bring other pro athletes into the mix. So the kids have a chance to meet them. But we want these camps to be where you can focus on helping the athlete both on and off the field. So helping them with the nutrition and the leadership, which I think is something a lot of people don't do in their camps. And I think it's something that a lot of people need. I get a lot of questions from a lot of kids and especially a lot of parents. And so I think kind of bringing that into the camps is something that's really huge. But, like soccer has given me so much opportunity. It's made me into the individual I am today. And, it works on teamwork and confidence and all that kind of stuff. So I want to have these camps where it's a safe haven for these girls or kids to make mistakes and for us to be okay, especially with how society is today. So we just want to have like a place where people can just make mistakes and just become better people and athletes. So, That's kind of our mentality going into this year. And so we're pretty excited. We're going to launch a tour coming up soon. So
That's
everyone keep
awesome.
their eye out for that. Yeah.
Okay, so now are these kids who have played soccer, or are you getting pretty new
We're getting,
athletes?
yeah, we're getting a mix, kind of a mix. There's people that, are interested in it, like especially the younger kids. And then we have, the older kids that have, been into it, or they just need a little bit more help, or just like they have questions about moving forward with a career if they want to get to the level that I've been at. How do they get there? A lot of, especially coming from a small city like Green Bay, like people just don't know how to get there, or they're not going to be seen as much as a person coming from like New Jersey or a bigger city or something like that. So it's just kind of helping people with the process, but then also help molding them.
Okay, so why don't we use that then? What advice do you give to a young athlete who's maybe playing a bit of soccer? They're in sort of whatever rec league or coming up through just sort of the basic development, and in a small town.
Mm-hmm.
What would be what are they looking for? Are they looking to school, or where are they looking as far as next steps once they're sort of outgrowing that local like house league type environment?
Yeah, I mean, everyone's different. And I think like for me, like I kind of based where I was going to go to high school. So I think first looking within your city, try to find, if you're really serious about it, try to find like the team. Like for me, I drove 2 hours to and from practice every day just to play on a team that was going to help me. Because like the teams in Green Bay just weren't going to the tournaments that I needed to get noticed at. So I've helped a couple girls do that. They went and played on this other team, and they all got D1 scholarships. So that for me is so rewarding to see. So I think it's just utilize people like me in your city. You'd be surprised at how easy it is to talk to all of us athletes and to kind of get feedback and stuff like that. But find a school that works for you and where you feel like you can fit in as a team. And then when you're looking for colleges, like I suggest really going on all your visits, and don't be afraid to ask people about that process because you can get really lost in the shuffle. So that's like just a big thing. I think just talking to people and then, just going for it and having confidence. I think that's the biggest thing. I've been told no and been cut so many times. And if I would have let that stop me, then I wouldn't be where I am now. So I think that's a big thing I have a lot of girls that come up to me and they're like, my coach said this, or I'm not good enough. And, and I've sat them down, like, what do you want? And what do you know what it takes to get there? And if you're willing to do that, then you're going to be fine. You're going to be able to do it. So I think that's a big thing.
Yeah, it is amazing. I don't know if it has to do with sort of our social media culture, but that idea of reaching out to people, and like I say, cycling's pretty small. And as you say, like, a lot of the soccer players are fairly accessible, really. And social media can help you get a hold of these people. But, you would probably be more than willing to get on the phone or even meet up with someone, a younger athlete who was just wondering about where to go or, what opportunities or what pathway. I had a young athlete just phone the other day, and I was like, yeah, let's just jump on the phone. And he had a bunch of questions, really intelligent young guy. And, we just talked about cycling and where he could go, but, just about his training. And, he was maybe charging a little too hard, and, just talked about what he actually needed to be doing. Right. And
yeah.
So,
I think people, going off of that though, like I think people just don't know how to train correctly. Like I've noticed that with a lot of the kids, like the coaches in the area are great, but they're not teaching them maybe what they need to be at that level. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just looking for a mentor of sorts, right? Like,
yeah,
that
exactly.
take many different forms, but just being willing to ask questions and be vulnerable, and I think that's a good skill to have, but I think it's maybe getting rarer and rarer.
Yeah, I think just one more thing, sorry, sure. That this little girl, I said I went to speak to them in Toronto, and she wrote, and I said, you guys can always reach out to me, and she wrote me, and she's like, I don't think you're going to read this, but I'm having a really tough time. I'm just not grasping like this one move, or I can't talk to anybody. I can't, my parents don't understand soccer. I really just need some advice or some help to, I just don't feel like I'm improving as a player. And so I wrote back to her and I said, hey, you want to Skype? and let's talk through it, because I think especially like the little teenagers they feel like they can't talk to people, or they keep things inside. And I think what's great as, us as role models is that we can be there to help that. And I think that really made my day, to someone to have to actually reach out to me and not be afraid to like ask me these kind of questions. Because there's a lot of people that are struggling. And then I've had little girls come crying to me, and, and it's for me, that's hard.
Yeah. Yeah. And it could be something that's completely irrelevant, right? Like, and it's like, oh no, you don't, you'll figure that out after you do this other skill, right? Or, you don't need, try this first or whatever, right? Like it might not even be that complicated. No one's just maybe explained it, right? That's awesome. And I think the mentorship thing is a really good takeaway for sure. So hopefully people will take that initiative and be vulnerable and get out and ask questions and see who they can connect with. Staying on that sort of same idea, I'm wondering if you could sort of give, we like to get a couple terms out of soccer just for people who aren't super exposed to it. So this is more even rapid fire type stuff. But if you had to think of sort of 3 terms off the top of your head for soccer, to understand the game, to do a basic pickup game, to watch it on, TV or whatever, what sort of terms come to mind?
Oh man. I guess if someone's never like really played before, I guess it'd be like dribbling or doing moves or heading the ball, movement, like just moving, finding space is a big thing. Just moving to find space in order to get the ball. I guess like just stuff like that, or just basic soccer terms that.
Sure. So dribbling would be just sort of back and forth between your feet, like being able to.
Like dribbling the ball and, throwing out moves and, going at somebody one-on-one.
Okay. And then your other one was making space. So how is there a way you can describe, like, how do you make space? I think that's a good skill and relates to a lot of team sports. And even in cycling, when you're in a group and stuff, they talk about making space in some way. So is there a way you can describe, like, what is a tactic to make space?
Well, you'll see, like, sometimes if you watch, like little kids play or something like that, when they're like all kind of grouped up, and just kind of how you're talking about it in racing, that's all, they're all grouped. So it's making space, like utilizing, the whole field that you have to open up the play, so people can, when they put their head up to look for you, they can see you. So it's just making space away from all the chaos to receive the ball. I guess is kind of the way to describe it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So
okay.
And then there was a third term, and I'm sorry, I blanked on what it was in the middle there. What was
I think I said just movement or heading the ball. Maybe? Oh,
heading the ball. Perfect. So that seems really risky to me. So what, is there a way that we can head the ball? Like, how would you instruct someone to sort of initially?
You want to head the ball, basically kind of in between your forehead and your hairline, like kind of in that little space right there where it's, a little bit harder. You don't want to hit it on the top of your head.
Right.
Otherwise, it's going to really hurt.
So you're almost like headbutting the ball, like, right? Like,
and make sure you don't hit yourself in the nose. You don't want a broken nose. Don't close your eyes, because if you're going up for a header and you close your eyes, you don't know where those elbows from someone else are going to come. And have your arms up with you to kind of guard you and to, so you can push people out of the way, so you'll win the ball.
Okay. Another sort of rapid fire question. If someone was going to go to sort of a co-ed, like pickup type thing, what would be like basic gear you need to go play?
Definitely shin guards, because if you never played, people, you like to kick a lot. And so shin guards and soccer socks and your shoes, either cleats or like indoor shoes, depending on if you're playing on turf or wherever you're playing.
Okay, and what are soccer socks? Just like high socks, or what?
Yeah, like higher socks that will cover your shin guards so they don't fall out.
Okay, so you're not like taping your shin guards on, you're just the socks sort of.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that. Yeah.
But do they integrate this like shin pad into the sock, or do you usually have separated?
They're separate. I don't know if they make those anymore. I think they used to have that back in the day, but I don't think they do that anymore.
Yeah, I'm just picturing, like, for some reason, like fitness sort of video type, like high sock with like really big, like, I don't know, like lots of material there. So I think it's probably want less material.
I like thinner the better because you're gonna have to put your shoes on, so you want to be comfortable.
Okay, and then what's the difference between an indoor shoe and an outdoor shoe?
Well, the outdoors are the cleats that have the actual like little cleat bottoms, and then the indoor shoe just is like a regular, like it's like a more smoother surface. It's a little bit different than a running shoe. It's easier to control the ball because you know how running shoes are really chunky. So it has a smooth, nice bottom. You can play in a gym. Sometimes you can play it with them on the turf. There's a lot of different types of cleats out there. They also have turf shoes too that have like little nubs on the bottom.
Right.
So, I mean, I don't really ever wear those. I usually just wear cleats on turf.
Okay, and is it like with a soccer shoe or a cleat, like would you notice that you'd notice a big difference in terms of how well you're able to kick and run and sort of stuff compared to, wearing like a running shoe?
Oh, yeah. I mean, running shoes are very, very chunky and you can't really control the ball very well. You can notice a big difference, like when you're playing around with a soccer ball, and then when you have a cleat, it's nice and smooth, and they make like little ridges on there for your touch. Like every cleat is catered to either a different position or a different type of player, and that's how they get you, right? There's a defender shoe and all those kind of things. So.
All right. Is there, as far as, I don't want to go too far into buying shoes, but is there, if you were just buying like a basic shoe again for sort of co-ed, you're going to play, various positions. Like, is there a key word or a type of shoe that someone would be better looking at?
I mean, it doesn't really matter. There's different price points for all of them. They have like the same shoe, but they'll have it different price points. So just the way that it's made. Like the highest of the highest is kangaroo leather. So that's going to be the best leather that's going to mold to your foot and going to be the most comfortable. And then you have like the lowest, which is a little bit more of a cheaper leather that may not mold to your foot as well. But they're cheaper and you can just play for pickup and stuff like that. They still feel great, but the kangaroo leather are obviously the top of the line and the best shoes to play with, more comfortable.
Alrighty.
And I like Nike cleats, so.
Okay. Fair enough. What was I going to say here? So then we're going to go for kicking, obviously maybe the next place to go from shoes. So can you give us sort of some advice as far as what you see with, especially maybe the younger kids, because I think adults who haven't played much would have similar tendencies. What are the things you're correcting when you're, we're out there, we're just kicking the ball back and forth, learning sort of the basic, passing, basic kicking. What are the mistakes people make?
A lot of people kick with their toe. And that is not, the ball won't go the way you want it to. It's going to go like all over the place, and it's actually going to really hurt you. So it's better to kick with like your instep, with right by like your big toe, on the inside, and keep your head down, keep your body over the ball. Otherwise, if you lean back, it's going to go skyrocketing. So keeping your core tight. And keeping your foot, your leg nice and tight, and just getting a nice, clean pass, nice, clean kick. Just not kicking with your toe and keeping your body over it are probably the two biggest things I would say.
Okay. And again, the shoe helps a lot with that. Now, is there, like you say, that sort of the contour of the shoe sort of helps protect that big toe, I would imagine, a little bit as well?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's interesting. I hadn't thought so much about how important that would be, but that seems like a really good, if you're going to your first co-ed game, that would be pretty confidence boosting to have a decent set of shoes versus like giant, like Air Jordan, like Nike basketball shoes or something.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And then as far as like drilling and stuff, if you're going to prepare for this co-ed game, or you just want to, you have a soccer ball in the garage, you want to just go out and play around and, again, get a bit of that, sort of variety into your movement. Is there something, what would I do if I was going to go out for half an hour? I got a ball, I got a field, maybe I have a friend. What am I going to do?
I think the best thing that I still do on a daily basis, but when I'm starting people out, is I like to go against a wall. I think that helps the best, or if you have a partner, that's great, but you can go up against the wall and just start hitting it against the wall, and it will help with your control, with your touch, and just kind of getting used to having the ball at your feet. And just lots of touches on the ball is the most important thing, going slow, going fast, trying to pull off a few little moves here and there, just trying different things. But like, just the more touches you have with the ball at your feet, the more comfortable you're going to be and the more confident you're going to be when you go out on the field and play. But just working on, with a partner, some passing, maybe some volleys in the air if they throw it to you and you kick it back to their hands. Stuff like that, maybe work on heading the ball if you want to. Or another great thing is if you have a goal, you can put 2 cones like kind of in the corner of the goals and try to aim for those cones. Because that's where you want to shoot the ball when you're playing in a game, because the goalies are usually in the middle, and those are their hardest areas for them to save the ball.
Okay. All right, I like that. And I saved a link here that I'll put into the show notes as well of you sort of volleying and touching against the wall.
Nice.
Doing some tricks and stuff. So we'll have that in there for people just so they can get an idea of, one, how much skill you have, and then 2, just sort of what that sort of basic against the wall idea looks like.
Yeah, perfect.
But yeah, it was pretty sweet. I was like, oh, wow.
Thanks.
Control, holy cow. Okay, Molly always likes to know sort of a cool move that she could do if she were going to go to co-ed soccer and she wanted to impress people. Is there something you can think of that sort of is an early learn? Like, if you're going to teach, one of these younger kids like a little trick or a volley or something like this, is there something that comes to mind that's sort of not too hard to learn and pick up?
Yeah. Well, volleys are actually pretty hard. I would say just maybe like a basic pullback move. So you're going at somebody and you want to change directions. There's a couple different ways you can do it, but I like to do the pullback where you take your foot, like the ball of your foot, on top of the ball, and you just pull it back and you're going the opposite direction. So I don't know if that kind of makes sense. It's hard without demonstrating it. So you're dribbling at somebody, you're kind of at a standstill, like they're in front of you, and you want to go a different way. So I'll take the ball of my foot, it's on top of the ball, and I'll pull it back. So I'll roll it backwards and go a different direction.
Okay, so you'll like roll it backwards, and then you'll either like sort of start cutting to the right or even completely reverse your direction. And would you run back? You wouldn't run backfield though, would you? But you might like run around them. Yeah,
I mean, you could run towards the backfield if it's kind of clogged up there and you're looking for another player to pass it to, or you want to start over defensively to get the ball moving forward again. It just all depends on how they're playing defense on you.
Sure. But that makes sense. You could flip around and then look left or right, and you might have a teammate who's running, in the correct direction, I guess, or upfield or out to towards the other goal.
Yeah, okay, exactly. Cool.
That makes sense. And that's, again, something you could practice, is that sort of pullback maneuver when you're just sort of playing in the field and stuff too.
Yep.
Awesome. Anyone who's sort of playing and stuff, I always like to check in, like where can we watch? Like, is there a streaming site? Do they broadcast on YouTube, or where are they playing sort of games, whether that's the professional league or, any of the major games?
Yeah. I know that Canada has a game coming up in February. That should be on, I'm not quite sure where the stream is for that, but our league is usually on Fox, Fox Sports, or YouTube is actually, where only a couple of the games are on Fox towards the end of the season usually. That's what we're working on, getting a better TV deal. But YouTube is where they have all of our games for the NWSL. So you can find all of them, past and present. So I think that's great. So
okay, so we're just looking for the league's YouTube's, the NWSL's YouTube channel then.
Yeah, and if you go to nwslsoccer.com, I think is the website, it will also link you to the games and stuff.
Okay, awesome. We'll link to that for sure. People want to check that out and see what a professional game looks like. And then we'll also link to all your social media and website and stuff like that. But is there sort of, what would you say is the best one? Like if someone just wants to get an idea of what you're up to and stuff, which one would you say is sort of the big one for you?
I would say Instagram is probably my biggest platform for me personally. And then for my fitness company, Facebook is actually where we have the biggest following. So Fit as a Pro on Facebook. And then I also have an athlete page on Facebook. But yeah, Instagram, you'll see my up-to-date stuff. And then we have Official Fit as a Pro on Instagram as well, where this year we're really going to be doing, we just started that one, so we're going to be doing a lot more on that this year.
Yeah, we'll link to all that. Awesome. Well, that was lots and lots of info. I probably talked for a long time here. You got lots going on, but yeah, I think we got a basic idea of soccer and drilled in on some of this sort of daily core idea, which I'm really excited about. So thank you, Lauren, for all your time.
Thanks so much for tuning into the Consummate Athlete podcast. To check out all of the show notes for this episode, you can head over to consummateathlete.com, and we would love to hear from you about what you thought about the podcast. You can find us on Twitter and Instagram at Molly J. Herford
and at Peter Glassford.
And we would also love it if you would pop over to iTunes and subscribe to the podcast so you can tell every time a new episode, a new sport comes out. And if you would leave us a review, let us know how you're liking it, how we're doing, if there's anything you'd like to hear more of. That would be amazing. And you can find us over on Facebook now, facebook.com/consummateathlete. Thanks again for tuning in, and we will see you next time.